Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We're about a minute off from the top of the hour. Almost right. We're basically there at 2 o'clock. Thank you for hanging with us all afternoon here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Busy day. It gets even busier when we start thinking about, and just to kind of pull the curtain back, we've been talking about election coverage and what that will look like here on the stream. And yeah, the election is next week. I mean, we're just days away.
Woo.
And anytime we talk about politics, elections, all that stuff, you know who we call. Julie K.
Hi, guys.
Thank you for joining us. And let me make a quick plug. You catch Julie pretty much all day tomorrow here on the stream.
And I'm so excited.
It's Halloween.
It is Halloween.
Yeah.
It's Halloween.
Carlene may be dressed up.
Yes, I'll be dressed.
Okay.
Carlene will be dressed up. Let's get down to business. Let's talk about it. So, interesting story because you brought it up in the meeting, the morning editorial. My ears perked up because this is just, I think, fascinating. So let me read it. Days away from the election, we know who's funding the campaign to pass the sales tax referendum. Of course, Mecklenburg County voters will choose whether to pass this referendum, but we know who's funding the campaign.
Yeah, this was really interesting, and this isn't abnormal that when we have like a big referendum or initiative like this, some organizations and companies will step in. But since this has such a broad scope, the sales tax for transit projects, for the next 30 years. It was interesting to, like as you kind of said, pull the curtain back and see which companies are supporting it. Some of the ones that you kind of expect, like the Panthers and the Hornets, both donated somewhere in the $50,000 to $55,000 range each, which doesn't surprise me. Of course, their fans will benefit from them. If we were to expand the light rail, for example, which is the biggest project that has been a talker, they would expand the red line. That makes their games more accessible directly to fans up in Lake Norman. So that makes a lot of sense. What I thought was really interesting was Atrium Health being the biggest donor at $250,000, and that is a big amount of money.
Wow.
I know, especially because overall the campaign finances, it was about $1.7 million, which is a decent number as well, but yeah, just that chunk coming from Atrium was really interesting. And then some other companies that I was like, oh, I guess you have an office here, but I wasn't thinking about you. Like Coca-Cola Consolidated donated about, I think, $50,000 as well, I want to say. And so, yeah, of course, big company, I just wasn't thinking about it in the scope of the Charlotte scene. So it was really interesting to take a look, especially we're now, as you mentioned, just a couple days out from the election. But I was impressed. We went to one of the early voting facilities with how informed people were. I mean, we always say like sometimes I try not to get too much into the weeds because it's boring, or people just don't care as much.
People like that.
People were really, I was very impressed with the voters I talked to. Every single person I talked to had, of course, not just opinion, but like in a really nuanced view on why they were or were not voting for the sales tax. But I will say everyone was very firm in their stance. So that's kind of the theme I saw is, of course, people going to early vote most likely are going to be pretty passionate about either way. But it was really interesting, people on both sides of it. I wonder, I guess what I'm saying is I wonder how much, that millions of dollars of funding to get this passed will really do anything. It seems like people really have their minds made up.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. So when you talk about campaign, yes, that money is going towards the campaign. What does that campaign look like, consist of? Were you able to, I guess, glean anything from that report on what that?
So we've actually done quite a bit of coverage on just yes for MEC in general as kind of their slogan. Of course, the opposite side is now doing no for MEC, so that kind of set them up pretty easily. So it's pretty clear when you see a sign, which side they're for. So yeah, a lot of those, I mean, you see all those campaign signs, you see ads, we even had a huge yes for MEC launch event, I think last month.
But that's a lot of money for advertising. I guess
when you've got something that, we're talking, I saw some people comment on, we posted an Instagram reel, and I saw some people saying, well, why didn't they just put that money into a fund for transit? In theory, sounds great, but $1.7 million in the scheme of transit isn't going to do anything. Right. That's a drop in the bucket when we're talking about buying, I think the light rail tracks for the red line were like $94 million. 1.7 isn't, it is a lot of money, especially for a campaign. But when you really think about how much ground you have to cover, this is all of Mecklenburg County deciding, that is a lot of a lot of work, and it does take a lot of money.
And they would argue, say, if we didn't put that money towards the campaign, folks wouldn't be as well nuanced with
Yeah.
their opinions as you were just laying out. when you
Yeah.
did vote. Yeah. So I'm thinking about it in real time. We're processing this in real
Well,
time. Yeah.
I know, and people too were like, oh, like saying like that shouldn't be legal. Like I was reading the comments and I was like, well, this is just like it is interesting to kind of pull back the curtain and see how it works. But this is pretty common for big, like I said, bigger referendums like this in other cities as well. So I mean, like of course, something like this will impact not just the people but the business side of things as well. It's up to each person whether they think it's for the benefit or the detriment of
Yeah.
those businesses and of those people. But yeah, it was just really interesting to see who was donating, and I still am like, wow, that's a lot of money from Atrium Health,
Right.
but really interesting. I do think too, especially they've kind of had to ramp up their Yes for Met because the other side of it got a bit more traction, of course, after we had some of those safety concerns on the light rail. The murder of Irina Zarutska in August, it just kind of opened the door for a larger conversation about safety and about what that what policing looks like on the
Right.
light rail, who's in charge of that, who's funding that, how much of this fund will go to that, is it enough, who's policing, how much funding is going to things. So it just
Yeah.
kind of opened up everyone's eyes, I think, in the public to the nuances of a referendum like this.
Has Atrium Health come out and said, why they support this referendum?
I
Have they-
haven't seen that.
I haven't seen it. I
directly.
just wanted to. I didn't
It's
know if
also
it came.
quite possible that just a lot of their workers live
Yeah.
in, I mean, I'm just guessing at this
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
point, but I imagine like a lot of people that, work in that very extensive system, live up in that region up north that would benefit from the red line, or maybe
Yeah.
traffic, I can imagine when an emergency situation, you probably don't want to deal with traffic congestion
Yeah.
for ambulances. So there's a lot of reasons I can think off the top of my head that they might, but I haven't gotten a direct statement or anything.
I just thought about it too. When I worked in Raleigh, like WakeMed and I believe Duke Health, they have a program where they help when it comes to gun violence. So folks who come in who have been shot, they have programs to help folks deter them from further crimes or being in that situation. Because their stats say if you folks who have been shot before or likely to get shot again.
Wow.
Unfortunately, eye-popping stats, very staggering stuff. But they have programs to sort of deter people from crime if they were shot in a situation involving a criminal incident.
Yeah, so it isn't unusual
Yeah.
that, organizations, hospitals
Yeah.
will get involved in policy like
And I'm just getting, this is WakeMed, this is in the Raleigh area. So
Sure.
I'm not sure if Atrium is doing that, but that's something I just thought about.
but showing that it's not necessarily uncommon
Right.
that
Yeah.
policy and healthcare go hand in hand quite often.
Healthcare is a big stakeholder in communities. Julie, I could have Julie in here because we were talking yesterday about political stuff. We won't dive into it now for a good while. So we'll have Julie back in here soon. When can folks check out this story?
We'll be on at 4 and 5.
4 and 5. You can check it out. Julie, as always, thank you for your time.
Thank you.